Today's topic is about branding, all right? And I have initiated by saying that your branding has to come from within first. If you try to do everything outside, it's not branding. It's got to come from inside. The shine, the force, the universality of what you're saying, the applicability to everything. And I think that branding is something that women in India completely miss out on. And this is not the same kind of personal branding, personal coaching that all these people are, talking about on, in a commercial way or, images. No, 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 no. We're talking here about branding as a message. What is the message you're sending when people see you? That's called branding. And your brand, whether you're there or not there, your brand is going to speak for you. They don't have to see you. That's called branding. The message that you've been sending will precede your entry into the room. That's called branding. Now, you may come in and, be able to stick with your brand, or you may go in and negate your brand, but the brand will always precede you. It's about the fact that 8% of the world population, which is Indian women, are not involved in any leadership decision making except in a marginal way. I have a problem with that. Whether it is in our parliament, 10%, 11%, whether it is in our legislature, which is even less than that, whether it is the fact that India till today does not have a woman who is a chief justice. I have a problem with all of these. It's a leadership issue. And it's got nothing to do with professional women or women who are working in the corporate sector, or women who are so-called entrepreneurs. It applies to everybody. We have to change the leadership paradigm, and we have to define leadership the way women also define it. And I've heard a lot of CEOs talking all the time whenever I say this. They're out there to, the women CEOs particularly, are out there to debate with me that, leadership is the same, whether it's men or women, is gender agnostic. And I say, yes, leadership is the same. I understand that. I've written a book on leadership, leadership by proxy. Actually, if you Google, there are not maybe one or two women who've written on leadership. Otherwise, they're only men who've been writing on leadership, by the way. Women will write on all sorts of things, but they won't write on leadership. That's why I had to write a book on leadership. So I always say to them, yes, leadership is the same, but the way women manifest leadership is quite different from the way men will manifest leadership. The difference is not in leadership. It's like speaking the truth. The problem is not about truth is different. The problem is how you manifest the truth, or how you manifest your leadership, which is different in men and it is different in women. That's the way it goes. Now, men might put some leadership qualities on top and manifest them, while women will manifest it in some other way. I'm not saying which one, because I've written a whole report which is called, in 2012, Differentiating Style of Women in Leadership, which everybody's talking about today, and saying all the countries in the post-pandemic era are countries which are exhibiting X amount of qualities because they're headed by women. And I'm saying, yeah, I wrote that in 2012. Why don't you go and read my report? But until McKinsey writes the report, until a male leader writes the report, not many people are going to read it. I have no problem with it. I'm not making a value judgment. I'm saying we have to keep on writing. We have to keep on impacting. We have to keep on influencing. We have got to change the narrative today. All right. So, regarding women entrepreneurs and their branding, which is my topic for today, it's a topic I've chosen myself because, first of all, I want everybody to understand who is an entrepreneur. Have you ever asked yourself that question, Rajni? My question to you. What is an entrepreneur? Who invented the word? Where did this word ever come from, and who discovered it and who applied it? So, since this is a knowledge series and I'm an economist, I have been dealing with the word entrepreneur, right through college. The word entrepreneur was actually founded in 1800. And it was only after 100 years that Joseph Schumpeter, who to me is one of the gurus of economics, just like Adam Smith, um, he was the one who actually applied the word entrepreneur and used it as entrepreneurship, all right, in his very famous book, Capitalism, Socialism, and Democracy.
Mhm.
And I think that people who even open, Indus entrepreneurs, they asked me once to speak there, and I asked them this first question: who discovered entrepreneurs and what does it mean? What I'm trying to say is that we must not use anything loosely. Everybody must understand about branding. Why are you using that term for yourself? If you're saying I'm an entrepreneur, please do your homework and find out where did this word come from and what does it mean. Now, entrepreneur, I'll just keep it short, comes from the word enterprise. All right. And, enterprise, if you take out the word risk and you take out the word adventure, there is no enterprise. These two words are critical to enterprise. So I'm just saying, just as a definition, so those who saying I'm an entrepreneur, yeah, but because you take a risk, because you take a business risk, or you're enterprising because you're an adventurer. If you're sitting in your comfort zone, you're not an entrepreneur. Literally, the definition doesn't work for you. And the other thing about entrepreneur is that an enterprise is a legal entity which has nothing to do with you, nothing whatsoever. You don't own it. It has a life of its own. Okay, that's what we heard when Joseph Schumpeter applied that word. Now the thing is that a lot of us tend to look at the owner promoter or the woman entrepreneur as the owner. The reality is that they only have promoters, they don't have owners. Nobody owns an enterprise. The enterprise has a life of its own, and it is a legal entity. So when women call themselves women entrepreneurs, I want to start with the branding. Okay, so let us say I'm an entrepreneur because I own private limited company. I do. Why don't I call myself an entrepreneur right on top? Why does my visiting card not say entrepreneur? Why do I call myself a founder or a chairman or a CEO? This then is the branding issue. The minute you say I'm an entrepreneur, you're put in a bucket where, we've got a very, very small marginal population of women entrepreneurs who are constantly asking the government for support, who are constantly saying, give me this and that, who are not really the kind of enterprising business leaders that we want them to be. And that is why I say I'm a CEO. You can say it too. I want all the women to change their business cards tomorrow and get new business cards printed that will say CEO of your company. I'm saying, what's the problem? When you are branded as a CEO, you immediately get into another bracket. All right, somebody does Google CEO, your name will come up. I'm talking digital now. And somebody says entrepreneur, you're going to get into another bucket, which is called CSR, or some such bucket where business leaders, not business leaders don't belong. Unfortunately, I think in the United States they have overcome this problem to some extent by calling themselves business owners. So they call themselves women in business. They don't say entrepreneurs, they don't say CEOs, they say women in business. And women business owners is actually a much better word because then people look at you differently. An entrepreneur seems like somebody who's still struggling, while a business owner looks like somebody who's a custodian. See the words I'm using: one is a struggler, one is a custodian. Already a custodian, you're an owner, you're a custodian. I think we must change the brand of whatever you're doing. And that's why my topic was women entrepreneurs or CEOs, all in the branding. Well, the first thing is that let me take the second one first because the first one is more important than the second one, all right? I think in terms of we women have barriers, this has got to stop. There is nothing wrong with the women. We are not defunct. We are not disabled. We are not, second grade. So I think that this whole issue about women have barriers, first, stop recycling this sentence. Everybody's got to stop. That is why I started the Will Forum, so that nobody, at least in my forum, recycles it. And if anybody recycles it, then I will write a whole book to explain why there is this social issue. All right. Now, women are like this because, not because they were born like this, because the ecosystem is unequal. Let's be very clear and let us say it loudly. All right. The ecosystem is unequal. As long as the ecosystem is unequal, women will have and will face mental barriers. There is no two ways about it. Now, there will be people like you, and there will be people like me, and there will be many women who have joined us who are extraordinary women business owners who have got past it. I call it transcend. Okay, you can't get past it, you can't break it, you can transcend it, which means you embed it and then you move along with it. That's called transcend. So we've gotten past these barriers, but there are many others who can't. And so that is why we've started the Will Leadership Program. And by now we have 1,000 Will mentees. Now, 1,000 is a huge number for somebody like us. We're not McKinsey and we're not KPMG and we're not, Boston Consulting where we can, generate such large numbers. We don't even have the money to do it. But we have the heart, we have the aspiration, we have the drive, we have the spirit, and we have the knowledge, and we're going to finish this job. So instead of having 100 mentees, and we got 1,000. Now, who are these 1,000? These are all women who have transcended the barriers, and everybody can do it. It's no big deal. First, you just have to understand that it has nothing to do with you. Your having this mental barrier has nothing to do with you. I'm repeating that sentence. We don't have to fix the women. We have to fix the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And I don't know if in my lifetime I can fix it, but in the meantime, we will try to get the women to understand how they can get past the unequal ecosystem. The second thing that you mentioned about, the women not being able to do many things in networking is why I want to do this program today. Because we are on the tipping point. I've got a hashtag, it's called tipping point. Never, never in our lives will this tipping point come again. We're standing right on the tipping point because now we have digital, now we have online, now we have AI. We don't have to go anywhere. We have to go nowhere. You just need your phone and you just need your laptop and you need an internet and go, go, go. Okay? And that is why I said that the first point you raised is more important because that belongs to a century which is pre-pandemic. And I'm calling it a century because the amount of transition we have made in terms of culture and the way we work is almost like a century. It's not 6 months, it's almost a century in my mind of the change that has come about in the way we work. So that belongs to the pre-pandemic century, and believe me, it won't happen.